Hey everybody, this episode of Walking the Floor is made possible with support from Fender Play. Have you or someone you know been looking to learn how to play the guitar? Because my friends over at Fender recently introduced Fender Play, the complete learning platform from the most trusted name in guitar. And it really is the quickest and easiest way to learn how to play, offering on-demand guitar lessons through a video-based platform designed to help you play your favorite songs and learn key skills in minutes. So for your free trial of Fender Play, please visit fender.com/walking the floor.
This is Mike from Mike And The Moonpies. You're listening to Walking the Floor.
How'd you know? Perfect.
I'm walking the floor over you.
Walking the floor.
I'm walking the floor. Walking the floor over you.
Hola, senors and senoritas. This is Chris Shiflett, and you're listening to another fine edition of Walking the Floor. And let me be the first to wish you a happy, happy new year and a belated Merry Christmas and all that jazz. It's a cold morning here in Los Angeles, and I'm just still basking in the glow of my interview from a couple weeks ago with Ace Frehley. Come on, if you haven't listened yet, make sure you go check it out. Considering it's the holidays, I'm sure you've got so much to do, and I want to get into the interview here quick. But I will remind you that I've got a lot of tour dates going on in the early part of next year. Some of them I'm supporting Blackberry Smoke. Some of them I am supporting Elizabeth Cook. And my good buddy Kendall Marvel's on those shows as well. So make sure you get on over to Chris Shiflett Music today and get your tickets. If you're one of those people that posts in the comments section on my Instagram like, oh, come to Prosser. You never come to Prosser, Washington. Come to Oxford, Mississippi, man. You never come to Oxford. Then your dreams have come true. So get on over to my website and I'll be coming to your town soon with all my buddies in Blackberry Smoke and Elizabeth Cook and Kendall Marvel. Come on, get on it. And of course, a big, big thanks to Fender Play for helping make this episode of Walking the Floor absolutely free. As you know, Fender Play is the complete learning platform from the most trusted name in guitar, available on desktop and mobile so you can learn anytime, anywhere. It's the quickest and easiest way to learn how to play guitar, bass, or ukulele, with bite-sized video lessons featuring hundreds of top songs and classic favorites. You'll even find some of my personal faves in there, such as Learn to Fly by the Foo Fighters and Tiger by the Tail by Buck Owens. For your free trial of Fender Play, please visit fender.com/walking the floor. Somebody corrected me that that's actually /, which I think might be grammatically correct, but the whole world calls it /, so I'm just going to stick with /. And while we're at it, don't forget support for Walking the Floor also comes from D'Addario. D'Addario, a fine maker of USA-made instrument strings and musical accessories, is committed to sustainability through the playback program, cycling over 1 million used instrument strings. For more information on the playback program and how to help in its mission of reaching 2.5 million strings in 2018, please visit playback.daddario.com. And don't forget my buddies over at Zounds.com. That's Zounds with 2 Z's, where every order $599 and above is eligible for their exclusive 12-part payment plan. With no application process, no interest charged, ever. And you just pay that first monthly installment and your gear ships immediately. Sounds.com. Get on it. All right, let's hop on over to the interview. All right, now I know it's a tired old cliche to refer to any band as like the hardest working band in showbiz, but with Mike and the Moonpies, that sort of tag actually rings true because that's how they do it, man. They're out there like on the road 200 gigs a year on average, and they've been doing that for a long time. If you haven't listened to their latest record, Steak Night at the Prairie Rose, you should. It's the kind of record that makes you want to dance and drink beer and get into trouble. Now, Mike and his Moonpies came by recently to Walking the Floor World Headquarters, and they actually brought their producer and sometimes bass player, multi-instrumentalist Adam Oder, who produced their last record and is producing the one that they're currently working on now between lots and lots of tour dates. And we had a great little talk, covered, of course, we talked about Texas and the Texas music scene and Lloyd Maines and dance halls and Johnny Bush and Clint Black's brother and the various distinctions of the red dirt genre. And don't forget, Johnny writes the checks. This is Mike and the Moonpies on Walking the Floor. So what brings you through LA right now? Are you guys on the road? Are you on tour?
Yeah, we're touring. This is like maybe a week and a half run or something like that. We were just through here. Turn that thing off.
Sorry. This is my first time doing an interview, boys. Thank you.
You'll get it figured
for sitting
out,
through
man.
it with me. It's funny because my computer, I always turn off the Wi-Fi, and I don't know why, but it like magically keeps getting messages afterwards. So I don't know. You're a producer, man. Come and figure this shit out.
You know how this works.
I try to get the young interns to do everything.
Are you playing in the band as
No.
well as producing?
No, but I will get up and play a little bit. We do a thing where Omar is also a steel player. And he plays bass, and so Omar will get on steel. Steel player gets on another lead guitar. I'll play bass.
Oh, shit.
We'll do some stuff, and then I'll run over and play like Hammond while Johnny's playing piano. He's got a piano Hammond.
You just
set up,
can't
so.
keep him off stage.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, well, it begs a question, and I was going to get to this, but since we're kind of there, I'll just ask, like, do you consider yourself, is it sort of a shifting crew of people in your band? I don't want to make the band uncomfortable,
No.
but like, do you consider yourself sort of like a solo artist, or is it a band? Like, do you guys write together
It's
and
most
all that
definitely
sort of
a
stuff?
band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, because I mean, it's been pretty much the same guys for 10 years.
Oh, really?
We're pretty
Okay.
close to it.
Okay.
There's
I've
been
never
some
seen you
additions.
live, so I'm going to
No.
ask you a bunch of super ignorant
No,
questions
that's
about who does what
that's
and
cool,
all that
man.
sort of stuff.
This is going to be very informative.
For me. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's definitely a band. I mean, like, we've had a couple of guys come in and out, but like, I mean, I've been playing in the band with the drummers since I was in like high school.
Okay.
So it's all the same kind of dudes.
Right. And where'd you grow up? Where are you from?
Houston, Tomball, like Northwest Houston.
Okay.
Northwest Harris County.
Oh, good. I'm going to be down there in November, and Houston is the one place that I have not found a hotel yet. So I'm going to ask you for some hotel recommendations when we get
We can
done
find
with
that.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
find you those.
So I read that something like some crazy number that you did like 180 shows last year.
Yeah, I think we hit 200.
200 shows
I
on tour.
I think we were hitting 200 this year also.
So you're keeping the same schedule going now.
Yeah.
It's just more like there was like European shows this year and a
Okay.
lot more around. Like this is the second time out west this year.
Yeah, lots
just
of
this
country
year.
bands not only don't get overseas anywhere, but don't even really get to the West Coast that much. So that's interesting. How come, or how did you start to branch out into other?
Well, we came out
markets?
here like you said, we were in Pioneer Town last night. Like we did that for the first time, and this is the first time since 2012. So we came out here one time and did it by ourselves, just like figuring out the West Coast and see if we could do it. And then since then, we've been on this booking agency that's putting us out here with other acts.
Okay.
Like we came through here 2 or 3 years ago with Turnpike Troubadours.
Right.
We came through here earlier this year with Cody Johnson. And so now we're doing it again, kind of on our own and
Nice.
playing that game. And
It's
see
a
how that goes.
fantastic room. I love that place.
Yeah, man.
Did
It's
you guys
really,
eat
really
dinner out there too?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
dude.
I love that. Those gals that run that place just take such good care.
awesome,
It's
man.
great.
Yeah.
So when you first started out like as a touring act, were you kind of in that Texas circuit?
Yeah.
Or
I
did
mean,
you always have a vision of sort of getting beyond that? Because
Oh,
I know for a
always.
lot of bands, that's just like an end to itself. you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I was aware of, like, we were doing a lot of the Texas dance hall scene thing and like doing like 4-hour dance hall shows and stuff like that. And then
Right.
doing local Austin gigs.
Right.
And I never really was aware of even like really that whole Texas country music scene, red dirt thing. But then we kind of got swallowed up into it when we got with our booking agency because that was like the way we could branch out.
Wait, do you guys get associated with the Red Dirt?
Yeah, a
thing?
lot, man.
Oh,
Like,
really?
Yeah,
Okay.
because we get our agency is kind of is like a boutique agency for that type of thing.
Right. What makes I know the name Red
Right.
Dirt, and I know a lot of the bands that are associated with it, but I don't quite understand what makes Red Dirt Red Dirt. Is it just where you're from?
Well,
Because
yeah,
it
kinda.
doesn't seem like your sound you don't sound like Casey Donahue or something. You know what I mean? They're not the same
very
thing.
Much.
Yes.
But you know what I mean? Like to me, when I hear a lot of those bands that are called Red Dirt, no offense to Red Dirt or anything else, but it just sounds like a lot of mainstream country kind of sound.
This is the argument that we have with the whole thing. Is like we don't really know what that is anyway.
Right.
Like we do what we do, but that doesn't.
So
we just happen to be playing shows with those other dudes.
Right.
And I guess a quick brief history. We were doing all these records back in the late 90s and stuff that were all Texas songwriters.
Right.
And then there was these Oklahoma songwriters coming down, and like Cross Canadian Ragweed, Brandon Jenkins, all those guys, but they didn't want the Texas music name.
That Cross Canadian Ragweed is an awfully confusing name for a band that's from Oklahoma.
And well, that was their whole thing.
It's like, why are they Red Dirt? They're from Canada, obviously.
Yeah. And it's hilarious because that's how Red Dirt came about, was strictly because they didn't want to be called Texas music bands.
Okay.
And so they just started calling themselves Red Dirt, and then
But then the Texas thing kind of just joined up with that, right?
Yeah, because they were all touring together, and everything. And that's how it all just kind of quickly.
We don't have red dirt out here, but we have lots of brown sand. Yeah. That's going to be my genre. Yeah. But there's nobody else to come with me. You guys are welcome to come over to brown sand.
Yeah, I want to be in all of the things.
Okay. When did you get your start producing records?
So
how long have you been doing this?
I started engineering all of Lloyd Mains's records back in '99. So
for people listening that don't know who Lloyd Mains is, explain that.
He's Natalie Mains's father, but he's also he was with Joey Lee, and Joey Lee was touring with the Clash and everything. Right. He came about with Terry Allen and stuff. His first producing was Terry Allen's stuff.
Right, and he's a legendary pedal steel player.
Yeah, an amazing, incredible pedal steel player. And I was fortunate enough to work with this guy, Dub Miller, who was cutting a record that Lloyd was producing. And we went to Cedar Creek and immediately got the Cedar Creek recording engineering gig. I became head engineer because Lloyd liked working with me. And for 7 years, I think we made 150 albums, of him producing and stuff. And it was all the Pat Green, Corey Morrows. And that's how I got the Dixie Chicks stuff and Roger Craigers and all them. And that's he started guiding me towards producing.
Okay.
So he was just like, you have a good ear. And I still actually go play bass with him sometimes, just
with Lloyd.
With Lloyd, yeah.
Oh, wow.
He plays with this girl, Terry Hendricks, and I'll go out and he'll give me a list of dates. Hey, we're doing band dates. Can you do them? And then my old second engineer that took the Cedar Creek gig when I left to go independent is our drummer also, who worked on John Silva.
Yeah, he worked on the Mockingbird.
His name's John Silva?
Yes.
That's Foo Fighters manager's name.
Which we've always laughed about. Because he's always just like, I just got thanked at the Grammys. Shut up, dude.
I was just trying to think of our manager playing drums. It's just funny in itself.
Oh, man.
Is Lloyd Mains, does he act as a mentor for young pedal steel players down there?
I mean, we were just in Taos, New Mexico, doing that festival, and our steel player, Zach, I was just like, which they've known each other, but I was just like, Lloyd, Zach, talk please.
Right.
Because
right.
I mean,
well, if there's two steel players in a room, they're going to be talking no matter what.
Exactly. Right. They have their own little world. Omar. They have their own little, because he's a fantastic steel player also. And It's just like, when they start talking, we all look at each other like, what the fuck? Like, I don't even know.
There's a reason why all those motherfuckers are crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No offense. No offense.
Oh, gosh.
I ran into Lloyd at a Bill Miller's when I
like barbecue.
And I parked right next to him, unknowingly, and I walk out and his wife's throwing out a coffee right where my driver door is at, and she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I look up and he's just sitting there in the driver's seat, and I'm like, "How's it going, Mr. Mains?" And he's like, "Oh, you're from the Moonpies."
Nice.
He was like, you tell the boys I said hi.
I really like your A-B pedal technique.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah.
You gotta work on the level.
Yeah. Okay, you mentioned the dance hall culture in Texas, and I know that's kind of where you guys got your start, right? Like playing, and you talked about playing 4-hour sets and all that stuff. Can you talk about that a little bit? What is that like? What does a band do in that situation? That's a situation I've never been in. Well, I've been in it a little bit. here and there. I mean, I've never been a part of that scene, but I've played where like line dancing broke out or dancing broke out or whatever, and you're like, oh shit, our song's like 2.5 minutes long. What the fuck are we gonna do?
There was a lot of covers in that set.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But and then are you then like stretching them out and doing like 15-minute long jam versions just to keep people on the floor going?
But we kind of just learned more songs. It was just
Okay.
like and that's where we learned not to have dead air in the set.
Right.
So it's just like bam.
So you
bam,
just
bam,
bam like a
bam.
Ramones show, just
Absolutely.
going one song
Yeah.
into the next.
And there's like no set list. It's like reading the room. Like if they're dancing to this, then I know they're going to do a shuffle next. Throw a waltz in every 5 or 6 songs.
Okay. Interesting.
Like, it's all about the dance.
So how you sort of plan your set list to keep a flow going.
Yeah. So every show would be completely different, but it would usually start and end like very similarly. I knew how to get into the set and then get out, but what happened in the middle, you never knew it was going to happen.
Just got to react.
Yeah, for sure.
Does that enter your mind when you're writing songs? When you're writing your own original songs? Like,
There
are you
was-
thinking about rhythms and grooves and tempos and stuff that you know are going to satisfy?
When we were doing that, and I was working on probably the Mockingbird record, that was like I was writing for the show.
Right.
It was like I want to do things that I think are going to work with the dance crowd or whatever,
Right.
whatever the shows we were doing at the time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't necessarily do that as much anymore.
Right. Has that followed you in other places, like to people when you're touring Europe or somewhere where people don't really know that culture?
Yeah.
Do they start dancing?
Yeah, it's like people like a lot of people think of us as a dance band because we spent so many years doing that, and
Right.
our records still are like they're swingy records
Right,
and
yeah.
stuff like that. It's very
There's not a lot of-
danceable stuff.
There are not a lot of people playing shuffles in country
Right.
music anymore,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
So people think about us a lot in that way, like we're gonna go dance at the Moonpies show.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right,
And that's
right.
that's to its fault in some places because like in Austin now, like we're packing every room that we're playing, and so nobody wants to. All the dancers feel like turned off.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, I can't dance in front of the stage or whatever, you know, because I have people that are standing there now.
Oh.
So it's kind of like, but the dance community in Austin really like helped us.
Right.
They would, because they're like really loyal people.
Sure.
They come out to every show. Like if you play 3 nights a week, they're going to come every night.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they do. Every night they go out dancing, and they have their 5 or 6 bands that they follow around. And
Have you
and
always
dance
been
to.
based in Austin since you've been doing Mike and the Moonpies?
Yeah, it's always something.
How do you get? I mean, Austin's like it's like Nashville or any one of these other hotbed cities, like where it's a crowded music scene.
Sure.
How did you guys get noticed? Because I know there's a lot of people playing the kind of music that you play, like specifically in Austin. Like, how do you sort of rise above the din of everybody doing the same?
I think we were the only guys doing what we were doing 10 years ago. So
Really?
It was like this like bringing back of like the Armadillo World Headquarters kind of
Right,
thing, and like
right.
all that.
Yeah.
And, like there was a couple people doing it, and there was some older guys that were still doing the dance. There's still the Broken Spoke, you know. I mean, that
Sure.
was happening every night, or
Right.
whatever. But we were like the younger cats, and we were doing it. We were playing like more like '90s covers, '90s like,
Right,
country
okay.
covers. Everybody
Yeah.
else was doing, you know, George Jones or whatever.
And how old are you?
35.
Okay, so what?
34.
Was like '90s country? I'm trying to do the math here real quick, but was that like your sort of formative years of getting into country?
Yeah, like I
music?
was listening to like country radio in the late '80s, early '90s.
Right,
That was
okay.
like what I knew every word on the radio to those songs.
Well, backing up a little bit, like what, so you grew up outside of Houston or in Houston. What would you say was like your sort of chief musical influence? Like, was it family? Was it something, friends?
I mean,
where'd it come
it was a
from?
little bit of family, just because my dad was involved in like the Houston rodeo circuit thing, and not as a rodeo guy, but as like a committeeman that did bookings for like parties and charities and things to raise money
interesting.
for scholarship funds.
Right. So
And
you saw a little bit of the behind the scenes of how events work.
Well, he ended up making friends with all of these guys that he was booking. Like, so Johnny Bush was like a friend of his, and it would come over. Rusty Weir was a friend, and come over. And then this guy Brian Black, who's Clint Black's brother, was basically living in my house when we were like. When I was like 13 to 16, or even more. Yeah,
gonna
he
say
still
still
is.
He
Really?
lives, he lives behind my dad's house right now.
Really?
on his dad's property.
Is Clint Black a Texas guy?
Yeah.
Is he he's
Yeah,
from
also from the Houston area.
Okay.
So all those guys, there's like 3 or 4 brothers.
I didn't know he had brothers that were also entertainers.
Yeah, and this guy was like, it kind of gave me a whole perspective, because this guy Brian Black was like just some local dude that played like kind of a cover band set. He had like maybe a record out that was like some songs that he had bought from somebody, right?
Right.
But he's just doing like local and Texas shows, and he's got like a Silver Eagle parked outside my house.
What?
And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, you can
Really?
do this, and you're
Did
just
he
like,
let you on the Silver Eagle?
Yeah, man. I was like, I spent as much time as I could. It was like, because it would roll up at like 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
like, and I'd be looking out my window, like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out on the bus with
So you're a
my
teenager
dad
at
and
this
Brian.
point.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy, man, because it was like, oh man, people can do this that aren't famous.
Right, right. But people can't do this that aren't famous at that, like with a bus.
Right.
In many other, I mean, it might just be Texas.
Sure.
That where that sort of thing exists. You
It
know
blows
what I
me
mean?
away how many people have buses. It's like we're just in a van and trailer, but like, man, everybody else has got a bus.
What are we doing wrong?
Houston, Dallas, College Station, Lubbock, and then they come back. Like, okay, cool.
So our title sponsor for this podcast is now Fender Play. They have like this online video
Like
tutorial lesson thing. Yeah. So were you a lesson guy? Like I said, I haven't seen you, so I don't know. Like, are you the one ripping some of those leads on your records and stuff?
I did take lessons when I was a kid. Like when I was 8 years old, I think I started taking guitar lessons, and I was, I learned whatever you learn at the very beginning of that, and then I got into like Stevie and playing blues. I was in a Texas kid, right? And my dad loved Stevie, so like once I started like playing like pentatonic solos, I was like, oh, this is about as much as I want to do. Like,
That's
I'm
funny.
Good.
I had the exact same experience when I was like 14. I remember I took lessons from in Santa Barbara from the guy who was like the rock guitar teacher in town at Fancy Music, and he showed me like a couple of licks, and I remember I got home, I was just like, I fucking got it.
Yeah.
I got it. Goddamn.
Got this shit.
I got that one. I was like, I got this shit on fucking lock.
man,
I'm going.
I don't want to do anything else. That's great.
So how old were you when you started playing in bands and performing in front of people?
I had like a weekly gig. That's what the Steak Night at the Prairie Rose thing is about, because that's a true thing. Like I had a weekly gig every Wednesday from when I was like 14 to 17, and I just played acoustic for like 2 hours at this bar called the Prairie Rose. And my dad got me. We used to go in that bar a lot when I was a kid.
That's like the story of the song.
Yeah,
It's like you're tagging along with your old
for
man
sure.
kind of thing.
Yeah. So I played there every Wednesday for a few years, and that was like just me by myself. And then right around the end of that time is when I was having like me and the drummer Kyle, who's still my drummer now, and a couple other rotating bass players or whatever would have like a blues band thing, and we would play like Houston rodeo cook-off stuff, and we would just do like 2 or 3 hours of just playing blues covers.
I mean, for people listening that don't play music, 2 or 3 hours, that's a long time on stage.
Yeah.
That's a long time on
see,
stage.
now that's the where the things where we would stretch it out into jams. Is like, because it was me and another buddy who was also like this, Stevie Ray wannabe player. We both had Strats.
Nice.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, set lists were a lot shorter, but the show was longer.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
So I did that for a while, man. And the blues thing kind of, when I moved to Austin, I started to do blues jams like around town just to kind of get to know people or whatever. And then quickly that was like, well, this is not what I should be doing.
Right.
We have to do something more substance here. We got to make
not
something
everybody's
happen.
When did you start writing your own songs?
Probably right around 2002, like when I started to really, do it with like for this band. I'd been writing songs. I had another project with a couple of guys when I was in Houston still, and he was writing a lot. We were co-writing stuff. We were listening to a lot of like Ryan Adams and like writing stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
And so we made like some little bedroom records with that.
Are those all like super minor key, like Moby
yeah.
Sad
Well,
Americana
there's
songs?
yeah, for sure. They're definitely Americana songs.
Yes.
But that's cool.
So then it, at that point, is that when you moved to Austin, like started the Moonpies?
Yeah, I started it like only 2 or 3 years after I'd been in Austin. I went to like recording school there at Arlen, and they have a thing called Media Tech, and it was just like, it's like a year of sitting in a studio. And not, it was nothing. I already knew how to run Pro Tools and stuff, but it was like running a tape machine, and
Right.
And you're in like a really professional setting.
Did that make you want to make records, or did that have the opposite effect of like, get me the fuck out of the
No,
studio?
it,
I love making records,
Yeah.
but if I'm in a studio for too long, I start to lose my fucking mind.
Nah, dude, I'm like all about it, man.
Okay.
Like, that's like, I'm totally about being in. Yeah. Everybody else in the band's like, I don't want to get out of here.
Yeah.
But that's for me, man. That.
Whoever
it's like-
designed studios without fucking windows is like the worst idea possible. I mean, I get it. You want it soundproof.
That's why our studio, Yellow Dog, literally is all windows that look down on the river.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Control room, tracking rooms, everything just
Oh,
looks
nice.
You can see everything you want to do. You're like,
Right.
down. Like, get the part
There's
right,
like fish in the river, like, hey guys.
get the guitar
Come
in
fishing.
tune, and maybe you can go fish, Calvin.
Around that time, I also saw that Wilco doc. The I'm Trying to Break Your Heart thing.
Yeah.
And that made me really get into making records.
Oh wow, yeah.
I was like, okay.
That's a great
This-
documentary.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. That's like, I could watch that again today.
Totally. You know, it's funny, man. When my kids, those are my three boys on that painting behind you, and that was when they were like really young. They're a lot older now, but when they were all in preschool, I was out pushing one of my kids on the swings, you know, just like chatting with some other dad who's there, and we were talking about stuff, and it was Sam Jones who made that movie.
Really?
Yeah, we just sort of over the course of the conversation, he mentioned that. I was just like, you did what?
What?
That's his first.
Talk about being at the
thing.
right place at the right time.
sure,
Where the
yeah.
band is just fucking imploding, like on a number of levels, you know?
You're
It's
capturing
crazy.
all that. Yeah.
That was the first thing he ever did because he was just a photographer.
Yeah. Totally. I mean, it's
he
nuts.
really
And
scored
all
with
that
that
drama with what's
Yeah,
his
with
name?
Jay
That was the
and all
guitar.
that
Yeah,
stuff,
all that stuff. It's
Wow.
nuts. Yeah. Okay, so why do you think this? I mean, I'm kind of jumping around here, but why do you think this latest record has gotten so much attention? Like, you know, to be perfectly honest, like I hadn't heard about you until about the last year or so, and then all of a sudden, like, you guys are fucking everywhere, and it seems like you're everybody's favorite band. Why? When you listen, and you've got a bunch of records, you know, and the records are all great, and it's not like you did some radical shift into we completely changed our sound kind of thing. Like, you've been kind of holding that thing, you know,
Yeah.
it's a through line through all your records. So why do you think this one, is it because of the 200 shows? Is it because of just honing your craft? Or you a better band? Like, what's that like magic sort of thing that clicks for a band that makes it all of a sudden start to work on that level?
I definitely think it is a lot of those things.
Right.
It's like all of that happening at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Like, we've been playing a lot for the past like 3 or 4 years. And then, you know, this is our first record with an outside, like a really outside producer too, with Adam doing
Right.
it. And like, it kind of keeps us, it straightens us out, like where we
Yeah.
want to go. You know, I don't know where we're going to go. And we never did a record like this before. Like, I come in and play the songs in the kitchen, and then we go and record it until we have the cut. You know what I mean?
Kind of one song at a time.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great way to make
Yeah.
a record.
So I think that really, you know, it let us create a whole different, like, just a truer identity of what we actually are on the road.
And you always like self-produced your records
Yeah.
prior to that, right?
Right.
So what does having a producer that you trust sort of do for you? Does that allow you? I know, because I'm been in a similar situation where I had just sort of self-produced whatever I did, you know, on my own for years. And then the last couple records I made worked with like a real producer. And it was such a shocking change to not be micromanaging everybody else in the room and just sort of focusing on what I'm doing. That it's like, it's heaven, you know, it's the greatest. You know, when you got somebody whose opinion you trust, who you're like, okay, he's steering the ship, I'm just going to focus on me. Is that like kind of how, did you have that similar experience?
That's exactly how I felt about it. And it was, I wanted to not only give everything over to him, I wanted to like have the band feel the same way. It was like, here's the song and this is where I'm at with it. And then just figure out where you want to go with it. You know what I mean? I'm not going to, you know, I don't want to give too many ideas.
Right.
Stay out of the way a
Yeah.
little bit. You know what I mean?
You
Here's the song.
can, when you're making a record, you can obsess on like kick drum
Yeah.
patterns and shit.
For sure.
Then when you sort of take a step back, you're like, God, I just fucked that all up.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was sitting there worrying about some little minutia thing instead of just the vibe in the room or whatever it was. You know?
Yeah. And I think that we sometimes are getting into that a little bit, like, because we're working on another one now.
Really?
Yeah.
When
and
did the last one come out?
February?
February.
Oh, okay. God
Yeah.
damn, that's pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to stay in the picture.
Are you guys all like unmarried and no kids at
I'm
home, no
married,
commitments?
I have a year-old kid.
Oh, okay.
But you know, we're doing fine.
I get it. It was funny, man. I was home. You know, we just wrapped up touring for like an album cycle, and so we've been gone a lot. You know, the last year and a half or so, and I was home for a couple of days last week, and then left again for 4 days. And I got up to Edmonton. I got into my hotel room, and just, you know, that morning, it like, you know, sitting there with my kids at breakfast going, okay, so who knows where dad's going? You know, doing that whole thing that you do. And I call home and my wife's just like, so where are you? I was like, what do you mean? I'm in Edmonton. Remember we talked about it like all weekend. She's like, what are you doing up there? I'm like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm on tour. She's like, I can't fucking keep track of you. You just come and go.
Man. Yeah, there's been a whole like, she doesn't even try really anymore for me. It's like,
yeah. What's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, how does a band from Texas draw attention to itself when you're sort of outside of the, you know, you didn't move to Nashville and do the whole thing sort of through the, you know, proper channels or whatever. How does that work?
To me, it's just touring and a good publicist.
Right. Who puts your records out?
We release them ourselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, we own all that stuff. And
Have you always done it that way?
Yeah. We work with a small, like, Texas area, like, distribution company.
Okay.
But they put it in, like, you know, local record stores down there.
Right.
They do all my, you know, online distribution as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, like, we just, you know, ship records out and,
Really?
sell them at the
Sell them at
shows.
shows.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to get that Silver Eagle soon then.
Yeah. Yeah. One more record, man.
This next
no
one.
doubt.
This is it. And then the follow-up.
Wow, that's a lot of work. How do you, like, who do you run that yourselves?
Yeah, I mean, me and Adam are doing most of that stuff behind the scene kind of deal.
Wow.
Johnny fulfills a lot of crap.
Yeah.
You know, and just, yeah.
Because Johnny's like TMing, like playing piano and tour managing and like doing like merchandise shipping.
Really?
Yeah.
And he's the,
he writes the checks.
and he's also the school musician of everybody.
To everybody out there listening, Johnny writes the checks. Don't forget it. Yeah.
Speaking of Johnny.
The man with the football.
There was a quote of yours that I read that I liked, and I just wanted to dig a little deeper into it. You're talking about songwriting. You said there's that thing you get when you're cruising in your truck with the windows down and you listen to that certain right song. You just get that moment you're looking for that you haven't felt in 5, maybe 10 years. That's when it happens. So what is that moment? Is that the inspiration moment? Is that like where you're like, oh, where's the pad and, you know, where's my pen and paper? I got to get this down. Like,
Yeah,
what do you mean by that?
Because I think it's more about like for me, songwriting tends to be a little bit nostalgic for me. So it's like putting me into another place. It's probably somewhere. It's like a deja vu moment. It's like I've been here before. Like you know, the air temperature is just right. Like I write better in the cooler weather. Like the fall is where I like get.
Really?
So for some reason, it's unexplainable. Like I must have had some sort of creativity blast in the fall at some time when I was a kid or something.
Right.
So that all comes back to me again. So a lot of times, like, especially when I was writing for Steak Night, that record, I had just bought this 85 Chevy pickup truck that was just like the one my dad had kind of thing. And I would cruise around in that truck and like listen to like Clint Black and stuff that I was listening to then. And so it puts me back in that headspace.
Right.
And then that's why I think a lot of our stuff sounds like it does, because that's kind of where I'm at when I'm writing that stuff.
Right.
Is in that moment, like I was when I was at 14 or something like that.
Sure. That's a really interesting thing. You know, I feel the same way. And I actually said that to somebody, a songwriter named Peter Case, that I took a songwriting workshop that he put on years ago. Because I feel like I always go to, there's a certain period, and it's kind of like my late teens through my 20s, you know, and that seems to be lyrically where I draw from more than anything else. And I don't know why exactly, but it's hard for me to write songs about what life right now.
Absolutely.
Because it would be like, yeah, I love my kids and everything's great and yippee and this is just not fucking interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To me or anybody else.
Right.
But and my buddy Peter Case was like, man, we're living in the most interesting time in human history. What's wrong with you? I was like, fuck.
There's so
I'm
much
loving it. You're right. And I was like almost like feel guilty. Like I can't write a song about my girlfriend when I was 17 again. God damn it. I got to write something about Trump or whatever.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Well, that's something that I'm kind of running into is like I've written a lot of songs about family or my dad or my mom or like just my sister or anything like that. Like I have like a song at least on every record that's pretty much that thing.
Yeah.
And so like I did some interviews, like I think where that quote came from was like the Rolling Stone one or something.
I think so.
And this same thing is like he asked me about the Steak Night thing, and I was like, yeah, like I've written that song like 3 times, like, and I don't want to write that song anymore.
Right. Yeah.
It's written now.
And I think that that's something else we're changing on the new record too. It's like I'm trying to write more, you know, about what I'm writing a lot more about the band anyway. It seems like.
Yeah, I was gonna say the new one we're working on now is more about the band and more of the band involved. Like at the end of Steak Night, the band got more involved in the writing process. But then this record is very much like, and
Even
we've done
more
some.
so.
We got some soundtrack stuff that we wrote
Yeah.
some songs for, where we're all just like hammering out ideas. And okay, cool, that's great. And this new record we pre-pro'd a lot, and there's a lot of songs that didn't make the new record that we already are like, well, that can go on the follow-up to this
Sure.
one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but having the studio, we can multi-track and throw ideas down really fast.
Been getting a lot of like
great.
exercise work, like that soundtrack stuff is like you could do like an exercise in writing something for this movie or whatever, and like
Right.
the way this movie, the way this movie looks is going to make
Right.
it.
And how it feels,
Yeah,
and the emotion
for
it
sure.
generates.
We saw it, like
Yeah.
we saw our clip where it was going to be and stuff, and it was like, well, no one's got any ideas. And it was like, well, they're going to be here in about 30 minutes, so what do we do? And it was like, okay, key E, this riff, oh, do this, and what's it about? Okay, and then
I
20
had-
minutes later, the song was done.
Yeah, I had nothing when we walked into that room.
And the music,
What you just described is really one of the best things about making records, with that feeling like where you walk in at the beginning of the day and maybe you've got a verse and a chorus or a riff or some shit, and 12 hours later you come out of there and you've got this thing that nobody saw coming.
Yeah.
You know, the best.
That's kind of what the new record was. Like I didn't really like. We had this idea for where we were gonna do it and what it was gonna kind of be like, but I didn't have any songs. So it was like when we were doing pre-pro, I would just pull out my phone and like find a riff that I recorded 4 years ago or something, or just a hook or something like that, and we built the whole record basically just off of those little things.
That's a great. What you just said is great, because it's something I struggle with all the time. Going back and listening to all that shit on your phone.
He's
Oh,
really
yeah.
good about
Yeah.
keeping all that stuff and keeping track of stuff and everything. That's what's cool about Mike, and when we did the pre-pro for this one, it was just like we'd be in the studio all day, and the studio has like a back deck and then has a bunkhouse and stuff, so everybody just stays there. And so it was like, okay, we'd be out, like we'd throw in like a 12-hour day and then sit in the back and eat and grill, and then just he'd start going through the phone and Catlin would start coming up with ideas, and it was just like, okay, so what are we going to work on tomorrow? Well, let's try this,
Right,
and
right.
just start throwing those ideas together.
Fuck, man, I want to come make a record with you. That sounds fucking awesome. And you can look at a river while you're doing all that.
for sure.
This sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's great. You just gotta not freak out.
Yeah, that's good advice for all you young musicians. Just
Yeah.
don't freak out. I mean, what a good thing to be able. That must feel really liberating, because one of the most frustrating things about making records is you make a record and you just want the whole world to hear it, and then it takes another fucking year to put it out or whatever.
Oh yeah.
But you guys have your own label, so that's up to you, more
Yeah.
or less, right?
But we still, like, even with Steak Night, we were done Steak Night in the summer. It didn't come out till February
Yeah.
because we had the publicist and we had all this stuff
right.
in place.
I was trying to, the whole thing, like we're getting better over the years of like how to put out a record,
Right.
what to do and when to do it. And
Right, what to put money in and what to
Absolutely.
focus on and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I know. Believe you me, dude, I made a new record in the spring, and I've been going out and doing a bunch of solo shows and stuff, but like I don't even know how I'm putting it out yet. You know what I mean? Like I'm like still like I'm in the kind of home stretch working out a deal right now, but like it's like even once we get that done, it's going to be months before, I don't know, the middle of next year or some
yeah.
shit. It's like the most frustrating thing. It'll be over a year old probably by the time I get it
Yeah.
out. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's
that's
the
the
most
deal. Like once
frustrating
somebody
thing ever.
asks you what date it's coming out, if you say a date, it's never going to
it's not going to happen. on that day.
Totally, exactly.
That was that. I was telling the guys there's a classic albums TV show on Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, and when they recorded that, they flew back, and that's when Elton did his famous The Hollywood Bowl with the different colored pianos, and they played the entire Goodbye Yellow Brick Road record at that show, and he had 2 other records come out before that record came
Get the
out.
fuck out. Really?
Because they were so far ahead,
Right.
and so it was almost 2 years before anybody could even hear those songs they just saw at the Hollywood
No
Bowl.
shit.
And it was just like, whoa. And that's kind of part of what we like. We write a lot, and we're just like recording any chance we can. Just
Right.
so, okay, those ideas are there and stuff, and we can throw records together. And that way we're just ahead of the game. So we're not
Yeah.
that. We've been touring for 2 years. What are we going to do now?
Right.
Right. Oh,
yeah.
shit. We got to write another record. It's like,
Yeah.
no, just keep the creativity going.
Well, that is admirable, because I know it's tough. A lot of times when you're in tour cycle mode, it's real inviting to just go sit in your hotel room and watch Netflix or whatever, and not focus on fucking writing new songs and stuff. But That's good for you guys. That's great.
Thanks.
So what's next? Like just more touring, more finish the record, and just keep going.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like we kind of finished out. This is our last like real tour of the year, obviously, and then we go back and do like our regular regimen of Texas regional stuff.
Cool.
Got
For
a
the
one
rest
little
of the year.
Midwest run.
Yeah, we have one mid. That's right.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting about
We
that.
go, Missouri and Iowa and stuff.
That's right.
Come back right
That's
before
like in
Thanksgiving.
like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, yeah. We get home and then we go.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we do that, and then finish this record. Hopefully in the.
We won't put a date on it.
Yeah,
we won't
yeah.
put a date on it.
It'll be in 2019, maybe.
Well, fuck yeah, man.
Get it.
Yeah.
Let me just see if there were any little burning questions that I didn't get to. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Fish 101 hat he's wearing.
Do you know Fish 101?
No, but I want to know about Fish 101.
It's a restaurant down in Leucadia down the street from my friend's house. That is fucking great. It's amazing. Yeah, it's so good.
Now, seafood restaurant now. I'm just like, do we have time before the mid show?
Well, it's about a 2-hour drive from here, so you're probably not going to make it today, depending on where you're headed. But my buddy, a good friend of mine down, and Leucadia is like North County, San Diego.
Okay.
And my friend's son, who's I guess he's late teens or something. He's pretty young. He's like a fucking gnarly. I forget, what do you call it? Like spearfisherman.
Spearfisherman.
So he goes out. They'll just go out into the middle of the ocean, and he jumps into these kelp beds and spears fucking tunas as big as you. It's the craziest fucking thing you've ever seen. Yeah,
Great white stuff.
and you know what? And they fucking see them too. It's funny because last time I was down there, when I got this beautiful hat, my buddy Rick was like, "Come by my house, dude. I have like so much tuna. I don't know what to do with it." Ryder just caught this giant fucking tuna. And I went, and he just had fucking like Yeti fucking cooler on Yeti cooler filled with fucking tuna and just loaded me up. And it was like I had so much I didn't even know. Like I got a family of 5. Like we ate as much as we could.
Yeah.
And then I was just like giving it to my cat and shit. Like, come on, buddy, eat the tuna. Giving it to my dog, ate the tuna. It was fucked up. It was weird. But we had to eat it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having the balls to swim in kelp beds just out there with a bloody fish.
Oh no, dude, it's so gnarly. It'd be like the equivalent of if you were like hunting and killed like a wild boar and like threw it on your back, and then like a lion chased after you or some shit. You know what I mean? Like it's fucked up. Yeah. Well, thank you guys for taking the time to come do this, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks
Good
so
luck
much, man.
with everything you're doing.
I'm glad.
Dreaming about me all day long, staring at my number in your telephone.
All right, that was Mike and the Moonpies on Walking the Floor. Make sure you get on over to walkingthefloor.com. I'm going to put some links up for you to check out whatever is going on in Mike and the Moonpies world at this very moment. I got to hang with Adam, producer Adam, when I was down in New Braunfels, opening up for Paul Cawthon. Love that dude. Love all those dudes. They were cool. That was a good hang. And don't forget, get your tickets now for my shows supporting Blackberry Smoke, and then also the shows supporting Elizabeth Cook with my good buddy Kendall Marvel. You can go to chrisshiflettmusic.com. Get your tickets today. Get your tickets today. Get your tickets today. And thanks again to Fender Play for all their support. If any of you listeners are interested in learning how to play the guitar without those nasty usual hurdles, check out a free trial by visiting fender.com/walkingthefloor. And we'll be back in a couple of weeks. This is Chris Shiflett signing off for Walking the Floor. Adios, amigos!
I might be wrong, sounds about right. I might be wrong, sounds about right.